IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Page 10. We're recording on the 5th of June 2023. I'm your host Abbas Momin. Joining me today is my regular panelist Meghnad, who's joining us from Delhi. Hi Meghnad.
Hello, Abbas.
And joining us is also our returning panelist Karan Patil, who's in the studio with me. Hi Karan. So on today's episode, we're going to be discussing the tragic incident that happened in Balasore, Odisha, the horrific train collision. We'll also be talking about the developments in the restless protests that have taken place over the last couple of days. And we'll be talking about some edtech institutions. Karan has a funny incident about it which happened in Gurgaon, so we'll get to that later in the episode. In case you're watching us for the first time, Page 10 is the current affairs show on the All About Now feed. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon. All right, so without further ado, let's get to the first topic of the day, which is the horrific train mishap that happened in Odisha. It's the worst train accident that has happened in India since 1995. It happened in Balasore, and at the time of recording, the official figures were 275 people have been declared dead, and over 1,000 have been injured. The figure of 275 is actually a revised figure. Before this, they had originally announced 288 people, but it's now been revised to 275. A lot of experts have been saying that the figure is expected to go up. So essentially, what happened was there was a collision, a massive, horrific collision between three trains. There was the Bengaluru Howrah Superfast Express, the Shalimar Chennai Central Coromandel Express, and there was also a goods train which were involved in this particular accident. The train that actually derailed was the Bengaluru Howrah Superfast Express, which collided with the Coromandel Express, and then this collision then had an effect in the goods train that was parked on the tracks as well. Um, the the scenes we've seen on TV from this have been really horrific. The amount of destruction that we have seen is something that I've personally never seen in my life before. Like the train coaches have literally like toppled over each other. So I can
Hmm.
only imagine how horrific it was for the people inside. Um, the railway minister Ashwini Vaishnav did visit the site of the destruction along with a lot of other prominent politicians, including our prime minister. He has visited the site to assess the damage that has happened. The railway minister has ordered a high level probe, and the investigation has been handed over to the CBI. We'll talk more about this. There has already been a political game which has started taking this incident or regarding this incident. The minister had earlier attributed the incident to a change in electronic interlocking, and he said in a statement that people responsible and the root cause have been identified, and yet the investigation has been handed over to the CBI. The West Bengal Chief Minister Mamta Banerjee said that dal mein kuch kala hai, because she said that I think a day prior she met the railway minister and actually spoke about the electronic interlocking system, and he did not. Basically she implied that he changed the topic or did not talk about it. So she has assumed that there is some shortcoming in that area. So yeah, the very unfortunate incident. I'm going to open it up now to Meghnad and Karan. First of all, guys, I mean, what I saw was really horrific. So, any thoughts about this accident? And there have a lot of been reports coming in that
Hmm.
there were back in February, they were already warned about something like this happening, and there has also been this very what should I say, very ill timed campaign on social media to try and blame this on the Muslim community, because someone tweeted out that there was a religious monument right of the incident where
Hmm.
this accident took place, and they implied that it was a mosque and it was a Friday, implying that there was some sort of uh, prayers
Gathering.
gathering or
Yeah.
ill will involved there. To their credit, the Odisha police has actually debunked this. They tweeted out from their official Twitter handle saying that there's no need to give this a communal angle.
And it was an
Um,
ISKCON temple.
it was an ISKCON temple.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Any thoughts, guys? Meghnad, what do you think about this? The
So I
political
think
game that
it's
is, yeah.
important to sort of describe how the accident happened, because the scenes, of course, are horrific, but the way it happened was also like quite shocking. So
Mm,
the Coromandel Express was going on one track, which collided into a goods train like super fast,
mhm.
and the as you said, the bogies started piling on top of each other, and the
Yeah,
last two compartments of the Coromandel Express, they swung and went to the other track from where another train was coming from the other side, and that collided into those two runaway bogies, and then
yeah.
three train collisions have happened, right? And
Mhm.
and that to me is very stunning, right? I mean, like it's like next level incompetence, because I don't
Mhm.
think this is like a just a small mistake which led to this, right?
Right.
And there is a lot of deliberate attempt to sort of say that, oh, this is just like, oh, one of these errors that keep happening, etc.
Mhm.
ये तो होता ही रहता है types, और बाकी के countries में भी होता है, but that's not the point. The point is
Mhm.
how it happened actually points towards some sort of negligence. It points towards a
Right.
bunch of things, which
Mhm.
we'll discuss. But yeah, Karan, if you want to
Yeah,
give
I
your
mean, I did you guys happen to check there's a Reddit post by someone who was a relative of someone who
No.
was a survivor on in this mishap.
Right.
Hmm,
Basically, one thing that a lot of people missed out, I'm sure you guys are already aware of this, is that there was a quite a period of time that passed between first the goods train and the Coromandel Express colliding, and then the other Howrah Express sort
hmm,
of,
Yeah.
hmm,
yeah,
Yeah.
that passing. So there was a good about, I want to say 5 to 10 minutes, but I'm happy to be
hmm,
corrected on that. But there was a good period of time with that time that passed between these two incidents to happen.
Mhm.
I don't know if things could have been fixed in that period of time. It does seem like a very short amount of time, but it's, yeah. I mean, first of all, there's not enough people talking about this, I feel, and yeah, I mean, it's just a tragic thing. I mean, I've been on NDTV and all these sort of YouTube channels for the
Right.
past 2 days,
Yeah.
just keeping track of all this, but nobody seems to be mentioning this little detail over there. I i'm sorry to say this, but I don't trust anything coming out of any news channels right now. I mean, a lot of people
hmm.
already like doubting the number of casualties as well
Right.
as the
Yeah.
deaths also, but don't know if you can ever find out what about it.
Okay.
There is a demand for the railway minister to resign,
Mhm.
which was Ashwini Vaishnav, to take
Yeah.
responsibility and resign, which I think is a legitimate demand. But that is
Right.
being twisted by a lot of news channels saying, ki, "Arey, this is the time when we need a competent railway minister, and he's the competent railway minister." But the point is that if he was so competent, then this accident wouldn't have
Wouldn't
happened.
have happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I know you're gonna come to this in a bit, but it's
Mhm.
about like during when Mamta Banerjee was a railway minister, I
Mhm.
believe that she had installed some sort of a anti-collision
Yeah.
this thing. So maybe you can take it forward from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, so I'm quoting from a report on NDTV. The headline for that, which says Kavach would not have worked,
Hmm.
says a railway, someone from the railway board. So who the person they have quoted for this is a woman called Jaya Verma Sinha, who's a member of the railway board, and she said that neither of the trains were exceeding the speed limit. So the speed limit is 130 kilometers per hour, and of the two trains that collided, one of them was at 128, one of them was at 126, and she claims that it was a signaling mistake,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
both the trains were given the signal to go ahead, whereas ideally one of them should not have,
Hmm.
considering the other was already on its way. And she actually says that the Kavach system, which is the anti-collision system that has been implemented, was not available on this particular track.
So I have
So
some information about that. So I
yes.
was looking up this Kavach thing, right?
Hmm.
And what it says is that, so this Kavach was launched in March 2022, last year,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And there was like this whole Twitter video of Ashwini Vaishnav trying it out, it's an anti-collision system, which means
Mhm.
that if there are two trains coming on the same track, or if a train is going on that track and there is a obstruction in that track, the kavach system will detect it way in
Right.
advance and it will
Yeah.
anti-brake, right?
Mm,
Even
mm.
when the locomotive operator is not, on the console, or not even doing anything. It's an
Right.
anti-braking system, right?
Mm.
Sorry, not an anti-collision system.
Correct. Mm.
um so it was launched in 2022 March last year. Three vendors were commissioned to install this on high density tracks, right?
Mhm.
A total of 35,736 kilometers.
Mhm.
Yesterday, a report came out which said that only 4% of that were actually covered by Kavach,
Okay.
out of the total, right? In a
Mm.
year,
Mm.
from
Mhm.
March till now, only
Yeah.
4% has been covered, which means that the three vendors who have been assigned to do this haven't
Yes.
been working well,
Yeah.
especially on this track. So when they
Mhm.
say, so the impression that is going out, for
Mhm.
example, whenever this Kavach thing was brought up, someone is coming in the comments and saying, ki, oh, but this track pe Kavach
Mm.
nahi laga tha, right?
Huh.
Which gives
Huh.
you an impression ki, oh, this was one of the few tracks where it's not happened, right? But
Right.
actually only 4% of the total tracks
Mm.
commissioned have the covered system,
Yeah.
which means most tracks don't,
Yeah. So
right? So I think it's
the rarity is having the coverage system.
having the
Yeah.
system, not
Yeah.
not having the system,
Correct.
right?
Yeah. Mm.
um Also, the whole thing is that there was a big hue and cry made about this when it was launched.
Mhm.
Like again, that Twitter video was there, it was like, shot very cinematically and all the
Right.
things.
Yeah.
What is the issue with this whole system, even with Vande Bharat, even with this, and especially railways mein,
Mm.
is that you launch one thing, right?
Mhm.
Uska pilot karte ho, and then you announce as if it's done,
Right.
right? What you should ideally do is say that, okay, so we are doing this, we are doing this, and when you
Mm.
are like 80% done,
Mm.
80% agar deploy ho gaya, then you say
Mm.
ki, oh, now 80% of our tracks have like a coverage system, right? Which, and then
Mm.
you show like how it works. But ye
Mm.
pilot karke hi chhod dete hain.
Mm.
Like even with Vande Bharat, there was this train, I remember, Nagpur to, I believe Bilaspur or Raipur, one of those. Vande Bharat Express was flagged off,
Mm.
and it was shut down within weeks because it had no occupancy. Like
Mm.
nobody could afford it, and the other trains were getting a lot of load on them, etc. Right?
Mm. Mm.
So, and then there are reports of Vande Bharat trains crashing into cows and
Right.
then completely getting mangled. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
bizarre,
Yeah.
right? So लॉन्च करते वक्त तो बड़ा हुआ करते, बट
Mm.
एक्चुअली जब डिप्लॉयमेंट की बात आती है तो 4%.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this debate going on precisely about that we want to bring in Vande Bharat Express, and there was this talk of replacing local trains in Mumbai also with like high tech bullet train
Hmm.
type thing.
Hmm.
And people are pointing out that we're still struggling with like something as simple as signaling and anti collision and
Hmm.
all of that. Um, so, do you think this will make any will this be a wake up call after all for people to be like, okay, we're still struggling with the basic, uh,
Hmm.
you know, the basic workings of the railway system still. So flagging off a Vande Bharat Express is not the be all and end all of. It's precisely actually what you just
Hmm.
said that they may
Hmm.
make a slick video of something, but that doesn't mean it's already applicable to everything.
So there
In
is
fact,
a,
yeah.
yeah, go on, sorry, complete, then I'll.
No, I was saying there was actually in Bargarh today on the day of recording on the 5th of June, there's been another derailment of a goods train.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that just tells you that, and this was like some 100 kilometers, 100? Oh, I'll take
500
that again.
kilometers away
And this was,
from.
yeah, and this was some 500 kilometers away from the scene of
Hmm.
the Balasore incident.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that just tells you that the railway lines across this particular area seem to be a little problematic on the whole.
So I was reading a few reports, right? One was the standing committee report on railway safety,
Hmm.
and the other was the CAG report. So to your
Hmm.
point, the CAG report actually says that 7 out of 10 rail accidents that have
Hmm.
happened, which were like major rail accidents
Right.
between 2017 and 2021,
Mhm.
have happened because of track defects and
Mm,
derailments, right?
mm,
And a lot of them, the 7 which I mentioned, the tracks there were due for renewal. Now every year the railway essentially assigns some tracks for renewal, so funding is announced and the budget mein dalte,
Right.
and those tracks are essentially replaced and renewed so
Hmm.
that things like these don't happen.
Right.
um, and the fund allocation over the years since 2017 has been on a decline. So just to give you an example, in 2018 the budget for that was 9600 crore,
Hmm.
and in 2020 it reduced to 7400 crore,
Hmm.
right? And the another figure that it mentions is that 26% of total derailments were related due to non-track renewals. so
Okay.
so that's a quarter of accidents that have
Right.
happened because of this, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about the ones that I mentioned, the major ones, but also
Hmm.
smaller ones like these
Hmm.
locomotive
Hmm.
derailments, etc.,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
It's crazy, and there are so many red flags
Hmm.
that have come up. And
Hmm.
it's really tragic that when
Hmm.
an incident like this happens is when we actually start paying attention to all the
Correct.
things
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
going wrong.
Yeah.
And there are so many things going wrong which
Hmm.
suddenly
Hmm.
it's like, holy shit, why did we see this
Hmm.
coming, right?
Hmm.
um Another example I can give you, um about 3 lakh posts are
Hmm.
vacant in the Indian railways, right?
Hmm.
39 railway zones have lack human resource, right? So what happens because of that, like there are loco drivers, right, which are obviously driving the trains, right?
Right.
So their duties are supposed to be 12 hours,
Hmm.
right? If they go beyond that, it is technically not allowed because of safety concerns, because obviously
Correct. Yeah.
12 hours is a long stretch and they have to rest.
Fatigue. Yeah.
um so there is a report which says that in the last 3 months, right,
Hmm.
the number of loco pilots who have been deployed for more than 12 hours is 34%. So
Wow.
one third of all loco drivers are currently overworked, right?
Hmm.
Beyond the 12-hour limit. Again, 12
Correct.
hours is the
Yeah.
maximum.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is also because of the non-filling of vacancies.
Yeah.
3 lakh posts are vacant, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So there are many questions to be asked basically in
Hmm.
this whole thing.
And do you think our media has done that questioning at all?
Oh God, no! Can I? Karan, you have seen some channels, as you said. What did you see?
I mean, they're barely getting the facts right, honestly. Like,
Hmm.
Hmm.
they're not really asking any questions. They're pretty much going word for word as far as what the government and
They are
everything are
applauding
saying.
the ministers who are going there कि देखिए
They,
कितने दरिया दिल हैं
yeah,
ये जो
Oh
yeah,
my
जाके
God, I can't. So cringe. Like it's
yeah.
basically, अरे मोदी जी देखिए कैसे तपती धूप में बैठे हैं,
Hmm.
and like he
Hmm.
made like 3 calls, and like
Hmm.
उसका reporting हो रहा है कि 3 call
Hmm.
किए and all the things.
Hmm.
There was this one thing I saw where he was walking from the accident site to a tent, and people
Yeah.
were screaming Modi, Modi, Jai Shri Ram. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Hmm. Hmm.
what is happening,
Hmm.
right? Then there was another thing where he was watching a TV screen, and
Hmm.
there were like 2 cameramen that were reflected on the TV screen who were just
Oh.
shooting high level meeting between
Right.
getting briefed on this.
Hmm.
It's sad, man. It's
Hmm.
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
I feel like our media has lost it. TV
Hmm.
media
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
completely lost it.
Hmm.
And there are like these conspiracy theories which are coming up again,
Right. Yeah.
like the one that you mentioned, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, the Muslim angle to it, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Being put out by completely anonymous handles, huh?
Right.
but
Yeah.
but being
Yeah.
amplified by official sort of
Yeah. I think the first
channels.
handle that did it was I think called the Random Indian or something like
Yeah,
that, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and it just got a huge number of retweets and quotes and
yeah,
everything. I think Alt News then debunked it
yeah,
by simply Google searching the geolocation
yeah,
of the accident.
right.
So yeah. Also, I mean, the statement by the railway minister that the people responsible for this will be found out. I mean, again,
Hmm.
it's they're trying to push it to individuals rather than a
Hmm.
systematic failure.
And we know which community those individuals are gonna
I
come
mean,
from.
even if not a community, a lot of
I mean, sorry to
saw a
say
lot
it,
of
but
tweets, but people are saying some person who was responsible for the signaling of the trains
Yeah,
will
the
probably
station
be
master
fired. The
apparently.
station
Yeah,
master
yeah.
will be fired, which
yeah,
again will not solve the
it
underlying
it
problem.
So there's a TV bite
Hmm.
from Narendra Modi from a hospital where
Hmm.
he's saying that whoever is responsible for this, I'm paraphrasing here,
Hmm.
but whoever is responsible, we'll make sure that he will get the worst of the worst punishment.
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
it's not about who's responsible for this. I At this moment, right
Hmm.
now, we have to investigate why it's happened, how it has happened, what are we going to do about the people who are dead slash injured, uh, finding their loved ones, all of that. But the whole, I mean, I feel that we're just trying to please a certain type of crowd
Hmm.
over here,
Hmm.
and trying to like kind of how do I put this succinctly? Like trying to pacify an anger that doesn't exist.
Right.
You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Or channel the anger in another direction.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. One
So,
second.
People are going to ridiculous extent, right? You know, like
yeah.
one side may move. I mean, I don't know, movement conspiracy theories about reservations.
Yeah.
Like now
Yeah.
people are finding like a reason to sort of hate on reservations because,
Hmm.
oh, if you get quote unquote inferior people into the system through the reservations, then this is what happens.
Hmm.
Some people are saying overpopulation, this is a reason why we should have like a population control bill,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
Another random bunch of people are saying ki, "Arey, did you see Rahul Gandhi was in some foreign location, and
Hmm.
whenever he's in some foreign location, some major
Something
incident
happens.
happens in India." Like
Yeah.
kuch bhi, matlab random. Again, like
Yeah.
then there is another thing about Mamta Banerjee going to the accident site. Someone from Tamil Nadu, some leader from Tamil Nadu also went there.
Hmm.
Some people from I think Karnataka also went there. So when have you ever seen like people going there like this? To kuch to dal mein kala hai. The point is, it was from Howrah to Bangalore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a
Yeah.
lot of people from those states which were
Yeah.
Yeah.
traveling. So
Yeah.
literally, these people were going to assuage those people as well
Hmm. Right.
from their own states. But
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. Logic
Hmm.
doesn't count.
Yeah.
It's just deflecting blame wherever you can.
Hmm.
Like that station master thing that I was saying,
Yeah.
someone put out a list from the Balasore railway station and then identified one Muslim name and said, ki,
Hmm.
"Oh, this guy is responsible." I'm like,
Oh.
what is
Oh.
happening? What is
Right.
happening? Like, it's just ridiculous.
yeah.
Doxing, essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Doxing.
Okay, I'll just close this off with the official statement that the Prime Minister gave, which Karan mentioned. He said it's a painful incident. Government will leave no stone unturned for the treatment of those injured. It's a serious incident. Instructions issued for probe from every angle. Those found guilty will be punished stringently. Railway is working towards track restoration. I met the injured victims, is
Hmm.
what the Prime Minister said. The Railway Minister said that the track should be in functioning condition by Wednesday. Today is a Monday as we record this. So let's just hope something like this doesn't happen. I have a point about the railway minister still maintaining his position, but I think I'll come to that when Meghnad, you explain your story because I have
Hmm.
a connecting thread with that.
I have another
So
point to add though
yeah, please do.
in this whole thing. There was
Yeah.
a report which you should check out in the print, which
Mm.
said that in February, this whole
Yeah.
thing which happened, the signaling, the signal failure was
Yeah.
pointed out by the principal chief operating manager of the Southwestern Railway Zone.
Mm.
He warned that if the signal maintenance system was not monitored and corrected immediately, it could lead to recurrence and serious incidents. This
Mm.
happened after Sampark Kranti Express had derailed in a
Mm.
similar fashion on those
Yeah.
tracks, right?
Yeah.
And the whole thing is that in another thing that was pointed out was there was a Chintan Shivir that was
Hmm.
held by the railway minister like
Hmm.
literally hours before this accident,
Right.
where they were brainstorming new like
Mm. Mm.
ideas for the railways, etc.
Mm.
The
Mm.
entire presentation on safety was skipped, and
Okay.
they focused on which new trains are being launched, the
Mm.
Vande Bharat Express, and
Mm.
revenue. So
Mm.
again, the Congress had put out this statement, this
Mm.
part which I mentioned.
Right.
Again, take it with a pinch of salt if you want, but I just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah. Priorities.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a break at this point, a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll continue with the Meghnad story. So, once again, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us on an audio platform, if you're listening to us on an audio platform, please rate and review us. It helps us reach more listeners. All right, take a quick break and we'll be right back after this.
Hi, this is Cyrus Rogan Brocha, प्यार से Rogs. I've come up with a brand new idea. It's a premium product called Club Cyrus Says. It's an offer open just for you. Let me tell you about the product. We've got exclusive Cock and Bull episodes just for you. That's right, just for you. That means others don't get to see it. Also, you get exclusive footage, extra bits, the uncut version of the interviews with celebrities. And these are huge celebrities, not small-time celebrities. Only the big guys come on the show. So you'll get the exclusive bits that nobody else gets. The extra tidbits, special stuff, uncensored stuff you don't want to put out. That's just for you. And for our audio listeners, you get special ad-free content and early access to interviews and sessions and podcasts which nobody else will get. You'll get it first. You're the first people. You're Neil Armstrong. You're Edmund Hillary. You're whoever discovered India. You're that. And by becoming an exclusive member of Club Cyrus Says, you get the power. We transfer the power to you and you become the producers and you will decide what content or what happens on that show. You are the masters and we can't use words like that. People who work for the masters, basically. So guys, get in. Special audio features include, I forget. I can't remember what the hell.
And we're back on page 10 with Meghnad and Karan. Let's get on with Meghnad's news for this week. So, Meghnad, what do you have for us?
So I'm going to give updates on the wrestlers' protest, which has
Yeah.
got a lot of steam over the last
Mm.
week. I believe we had covered it back in
Yeah.
March, if I'm not
Yeah.
wrong.
Mm.
Abbas, you had done the story.
Yes.
But there are many things have happened since then.
Mm.
I'm just going to quickly give a summary and then we can get into the discussion.
Sure.
The latest being that on the 28th, when the parliament was being inaugurated,
Yes.
the Delhi police went to the protest site and essentially beat up the protesters, arrested them, detained them. They next day they went and basically took away all their things from the protest site. So essentially,
Mhm.
they just smashed the protest to nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, the reason why they did that was because Section 144 was imposed on the area, and
Okay.
these wrestlers wanted to go to the new parliament and do like a panchayat there, which was
Right.
not allowed because of security reasons,
Mm.
etc.
Mm.
Right.
Mm.
Then there was another thing that happened right after that, which is Sakshi Malik and other wrestlers who have won medals. They said that they're going to take their medals and they're going to throw it in the Ganga.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In Hindi, it's Visarjan kar denge. So I don't know,
Immerse.
immerse it in
Yeah.
the Ganga,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
respectfully.
Mm.
Throwing it sounds weird,
Mm.
but that's what they said. So they went there. There was this whole dramatic scene where they were sitting on the steps of Har Ki Bauli and crying,
Mm.
clutching their medals.
Mm.
And then Rakesh Tikayat went there. He was already telling them not to do it, but he went there and he appealed to them not to do it. And
Mhm.
then they basically backed out of it.
Okay.
Um, एंड उसके ऊपर ब्रिजभूषण सिंह द पर्सन हु इज अक्यूज्ड ऑफ दिस सेड कि वो
Yeah.
गए थे गंगा जी को देने बट दे दिया टिकायत को some
Ah.
random crass statement he made
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Another small development that happened is that some FIRs have been confirmed. Basically, some reports have given details of what the two FIRs that were filed contains.
Mhm.
We will talk about that a little more
Okay.
once we get into the
Mhm.
details. Yeah.
Mhm. All right. So I believe the Bridge Bhushan, right? His name is.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
also he's claimed that if even one claim against me comes out true, uh, what is it? I will burn myself or something like
Hang myself.
hang
Hmm.
myself. So even there, he's not saying that he'll leave the
And
post.
that too, he didn't
He's
really
saying,
say he'll hang himself. He said, I will accept the death penalty.
yeah,
Basically,
yeah,
what he's
yeah,
trying to say
Yeah.
is accept the death penalty.
yeah.
Hmm.
So the thing I wanted to talk about is that in the previous story also the railway minister has not resigned. Here
Hmm.
also after so much of brouhaha, this guy has not resigned. So at
Hmm.
least till a couple of years ago there was that little you know थोड़ा embarrassment, out of embarrassment at least the minister used to give away कि ठीक है बाबा तुम लोगों को इतना problem है so I'm giving my resignation, I'm moving away. Now we see that is completely going away. Such a
Yeah.
big incident happened, the railway minister does not even talk about resignation. This guy gold medalists, multiple gold medalists are protesting with so much
Hmm.
passion. and still this guy does not refuses to step down. There's that whole thing where I think Ayodhya saints have now said that they will come out in support of
So
him. Yeah.
yeah, so that is another incident that happened, which is after the whole 28th May
Yeah.
scene and the Ganga
Mm.
thing,
Mm.
Brij Bhushan announced, and some seers of Ayodhya, holy men,
Yeah.
quote unquote, of
Yeah. Yeah.
Ayodhya, they said that they're going to take out a protest on June 5th
Mm.
in support of
Mm.
Brij Bhushan
Mm.
against the people who have complained and the wrestlers.
Right.
Fortunately, today we are recording on June 5th. None of that has happened.
Okay.
2 days ago, they announced that they're not going to do that.
Oh, okay.
Again, that was such a weird thing because
Mm.
like some photos came out of him standing with some holy men.
Mm.
Like I don't know what the logic was there.
Mm.
Uh, but from the looks of it, what he's trying to do is he's trying to posture and
Right.
show how powerful he is. Right.
Right.
I sometimes now feel like he's more powerful than our Adharniya Pradhan Mantri ji, because
That
clearly even
seems
the
like it.
Pradhan Mantri
Yeah.
can't touch him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
कुछ
Yeah.
नहीं कर
Yeah.
सकते उसको.
They were claiming they wanted some changes in the POSCO Act, which
Oh,
claims,
that
yeah,
was.
which does not frame the accuser immediately, or along something
Hmm.
along those lines. So that happened. Karan, any
Do you
thoughts
want to
on
go
this?
into that before, like, Karan,
Yeah.
you go first, then I'll go into the FIR.
Yeah, a couple of things. So since you mentioned Prime Minister,
Hmm.
he apparently he was warned already a couple of years
Hmm.
ago
Yeah,
about
that's
this
one of the things
behavior
that came
from
out.
Brij Bhushan. So if nothing happened back then, nothing's gonna happen right now.
No, but back then there were no street protests happening, right? Now, at least there
Hmm.
are protests, there's pressure happening, and still he hasn't addressed it at all in
Yeah,
any
but
public
I
capacity.
mean, it is sexual assault,
Right.
and I feel that street protests should not be like the reason why somebody should arrest somebody else for sexual
No,
assault.
no, I'm saying the
Hmm.
prime minister not making a statement back then
Oh,
must have been okay. We'll internally see what's going to happen. But even now, when the whole country knows about it, he hasn't made any statement.
No.
yeah, he doesn't. He's not one to make statements. We know he doesn't like to make statements, like to
Hmm.
ask questions. So, at the same time, today some news came out that all three of these guys are going back to work, or
No,
have they
that's fake
already?
news. Okay, don't do that
Yeah,
again. Like right now, that news was being flashed on multiple TV channels, and then
right.
Sakshi
Okay,
Malik put out a statement saying, "No, this is fake news. Please don't run false news. I am going to continue the protest. We are all going to continue the protest." So
So
again,
okay.
see, this
I've
is
heard,
what happens. Yeah.
Guys, I
So
got caught by fake news.
I've
I
heard two
know it's
versions.
okay.
So this literally broke like I think an hour and a half before we started
Hmm.
recording. The first news flash I saw, which Sakshi Malik has debunked, is that Malik has quit the protest and now she's rejoined her railway job.
Yeah.
Job at the railways, which she has debunked, saying I've continuing my job, but also continuing the protest.
Hmm.
The
Protest.
other was that the major players have all quit the protest and they've
Hmm.
dissolved it, and basically it's over. The third version I have heard is that they are saying that they will not do on ground protests at Jantar Mantar or any of the other places, but silently continue doing it from essentially like a protest from home sort of a thing. I don't know which one of these is
Weird.
true.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
so
like
which
I
Right.
which ones
so
have been
that
debunked? Meghnad, which ones have been debunked right
That
now?
Sakshi
so
Malik has
th-
not withdrawn
hmm,
from the protest. She's
hmm.
continuing her, rejoining her job at the railways, and
Okay,
also protesting along with this,
Mhm,
with that.
mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's accurate. I mean, that's what
Mm.
she said, that I have continued to do my job at the railways, but I'm also doing the protest. That is
Also,
what is happening.
since you mentioned that the police basically went and ransacked their sort of
Hmm.
the place of protest,
Protest
they'll have
ground.
to protest ground. They'll have to like restart it all over again, gather people
Hmm,
again, and
hmm,
there is always that fear of they've already been the police has already been brutal with them once. Maybe the
hmm,
level of brutality will keep increasing. So,
oh yeah.
hmm.
what do you think, Meghnad, of the whole Rakesh Tikayat angle? I mean, does that make a difference? There's also I read somewhere that the wrestling chief is refusing to step down, but people around him, there have been some pressure on them to step down or
Hmm.
address this in
Hmm.
some way.
Naresh Tikayat.
Naresh Tikayat, sorry,
Yeah.
Rakesh
Oh
Naresh,
yeah.
Tikayat's
yeah.
brother. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
So,
think that? Yeah,
so one thing I saw was, so in Haryana and UP, and especially those areas, the Western UP area,
yeah.
these people have a lot of clout. People
Hmm.
like Tikayats have a
Hmm.
lot of clout, right? They're
Hmm.
real community leaders, and
Right.
these are areas where we know how khap
Hmm.
panchayats etc. work, right? So
Hmm.
they take their community leaders damn seriously.
Seriously, yeah.
So Sakshi Malik and people who come from those areas, it seems reasonable that they would listen to someone like Rakesh Tikayat. Again,
Naresh.
uh, no, Rakesh Tikayat went there.
So the
Is
day
this
of the,
the
the
Bharatiya Kisan Union president?
Yeah,
I think they both belong to that, but the person who went on the day of that they were going to immerse was Naresh Tikayat. But now I think
Oh.
Rakesh Tikayat is also involved very much in the
right,
Oh,
right.
okay, okay.
yeah.
Fine, fair enough. My bad.
Also, Rakesh
So
Tikayat became the face of the farmer protests when
farmer
they happened.
protest, yeah, farmer
Yeah,
protest, right?
Ah,
So the
okay, okay.
Tikayats basically, so they are community leaders,
yeah.
Got
and
it.
also like a lot of like the farmer leaders who were there at the protest have said that
Mm.
I think on 9th June is when they
Mm.
are going to take out like a countrywide protest in support of the wrestlers in
Restless,
multiple
yeah, yeah,
cities,
yeah.
unless some action is taken
Mm-hmm.
against Brij Bhushan.
Bhushan,
So
yeah.
that is also going to happen. So this will
Mm.
escalate. All right.
Mm.
But another, sorry, just 2 points wanted to make. There was a statement that came from the United World Wrestling
Correct, yeah,
governing body,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
It said that they are very disturbed by these incidents that are
Mm.
happening, and they
Mm.
condemn the basically the arrest and what happened to
Yeah.
the wrestlers.
Mm. Mm.
Um, but what one interesting thing that they said was that there is a 45-day deadline
Mm.
to do like elections for the Wrestling Federation of India,
Federation.
which
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
Indian governing body, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, this is, I think, important because I think nobody has really talked about it much. That so we know that Brij Bhushan has refused to resign
Right,
as the president, right?
chief. Yeah.
Uh, but the rules say that he cannot recontest anyway. So
Okay.
3 consecutive terms, if anybody has done 3 consecutive terms and plus they
Mm.
have crossed a certain age,
Mm-hmm.
they are not eligible for re-election. So his term actually ended. I think it's about to end this month, right?
Mm-hmm.
In May, it actually ended. So I'm not sure about that, but it has come to an end or is coming to an end, right?
Okay.
So they have to pick a new essentially president. They had to pick one by May
Mm-hmm.
7th. And the last day of picking is June 9th.
Okay.
Right. So then essentially it's going to culminate into like this whole thing. June 10th is the last 45-day window. If
Right.
they don't pick anyone by then, the president by then,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
World Wrestling Federation of India, uh,
Yeah.
it will be dissolved. And the
Okay.
wrestlers will be made to participate in the Olympics and international, the competitions with a
Competition.
neutral flag. So they can't even
Ooh.
compete as from India
As
anymore.
India. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So now what is happening is that like there are reports which came out that because of this whole protest,
Mm-hmm.
the elections were not held, the returning
Mm.
officer was not
Yeah. Yeah.
named, and now a week is left.
Yeah.
But that is not enough time to conduct this election. They need at least 15 more days. So
Right.
it's very likely that this is going to happen.
Mm. Okay.
Wow, I'm looking at it as a good thing, honestly. I know it's
I
I mean,
hope
not.
so.
it's
I'm,
extra pressure on the government to do
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
about
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
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 which is not bad. And the other thing, so sorry, another point I wanted to make was that the FIRs were detailed out a little bit.
Mm.
Again, to listeners, big trigger warning,
Mm.
very disturbing details came out
Mm.
about this. So, as you remember, the FIRs were filed after the Supreme Court asked the Delhi police why the
Yeah.
FIR hasn't been filed. So, two
Yeah. Yeah.
FIRs
Yeah.
were filed, right?
Uh-huh.
So 6 adult wrestlers and one minor has come
Mm.
out and complained against Brish Bhushan. There
Mm.
are 15 incidents of sexual harassment that include 10 episodes of inappropriate touching, molestation, running hands over breasts, touching the navel, stalking, and intimidation, and creating an atmosphere of fear.
Mm.
Okay. So both FIRs have cited IPC sections 354, which is assault or criminal force to women with an intent to outrage or modesty. 354A, sexual harassment. 354D, stalking. 34, common intention. right? So they all carry a jail term of 1 to 3 years, right?
Hmm.
But the second FIR, which was the minors FIR,
Yeah.
that invokes Section 10 of the POXO Act, right?
Hmm.
Which says that you have to be immediately arrested. One, and that entails a jail term of 5 to 7 years imprisonment, right? The minor's father had made that FIR, whereas the other one was made by the wrestlers.
Right.
And there are some very creepy details that were given out about how he behaved. He used to basically touch them inappropriately during photo shoots. He used to touch them with, like, pull up their shirt saying that he's checking their breathing multiple
Right.
times, right? He used to invite them into his private office and try to force himself on people.
Yeah.
So it's horrifying. Again,
Hmm.
I don't want to go into too much detail because I feel very awful just repeating these
Yeah,
details,
yeah,
but
yeah.
this is the extent to which he was going,
Right.
and there are actual people who are defending this. Like, literally, there are people like Sudhir Chaudhary, there are people like Amish Devgan, and whatever these male idiots on TV are, they are defending this guy, right? They are trying to villainize these protesters. They literally said कि इनको 10 करोड़ रुपए मिले थे तो ठीक है ना, मतलब वापस दे दो, 2 करोड़ रुपए ट्रेनिंग पे खर्च किए थे. Then they were also like, oh, ये मेडल तो पूरे देश का है, उनका थोड़ी है. Like, कुछ भी बकवास करे जा रहे हैं, like, like whatever. And once you read this, and once you see their garbage that they're spewing on a day-to-day basis, it's just so stunning how a human being is capable of doing something like that.
Yeah.
I blew my mind.
Yeah. Pretty horrific.
Also,
Yeah.
these incidents have matlab, these
Place.
incidents have happened over 10 years.
Yeah.
2012 to 2022, 10 years he has done this.
Yeah.
Like, basically, he has terrorized our literal medal winning international athletes for 10 years now.
That's what in India, I mean, forget the lack of resources and everything. That the kind of shit that our athletes go through is this also, and despite all this, they are winning. So
Yeah.
like it's
Oh
hats off.
yeah, that's, I mean, think about it. If this was not there, if there was an actual decent human being who was a president of that
Yeah.
federation, we might have won more medals, like, because then you would
Exactly.
create
Yeah.
a better atmosphere for the women there, right?
Yeah.
It's so crazy to think about this. It's really sad, but then also, like, super hats off to Sakshi Malik and the Foghat sisters and whoever were there, right? Because despite this garbage happening around them, they were able to perform, which is
Exactly.
like next level commitment from their end.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll be looking forward. We'll be following this story as it develops. Like Meghnad pointed out, there's some interesting developments which might happen in the next few days. So we'll keep a lookout on that. And if required, we will do an update on this in the future episodes. We'll take a quick break at this point. When we come back, we'll do our final story for this week. We'll see you right after this.
Hi everyone, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cock and Bull, Cyrus, Puneet and Shad discuss a Chinese woman who wants to be a full-time daughter, the new 75 rupees coin, and a North Korean toddler who got jailed for life. In the second episode of All Things Policy Police Choki series, Javed Ahmed and Sri Krishna Upadhyay discuss the colonial roots of police legislation in India, the subsequent attempts to reform the Police Act of 1861, and much more. On Simplify, Chuck and Tony are joined by content creator Nitin Sundar, who tells them about how to start loving the IPL. And on Pulyabazi, Khyati, Saurabh and Pranay are joined by the co-founder of PRS Legislative M.R. Madhavan. He shares his insights on how India's democracy is improving the functioning of our parliament. Once again, do not forget to visit our merch store on ivmpodcast.com. We've got some super cool stuff over there for you and your loved ones. Follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. If you like our shows, then do not forget to spread the word. You know, it really helps us a lot. And of course, don't forget to rate and review our shows on whatever platform you are listening to them. You can also find all our video shows on youtube.com/IVM Podcasts. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Cash Free Payments and HDFC Mutual Fund. Thank you so much for making this possible.
And we're back on page 10. I'm joined by Meghnad and Karan. We've already heard my story and Meghnad's story. Let's get to the final story of this episode. Karan, what do you have for us? Please tell us.
Oh yeah. So okay, before I start, I have a question for both of you.
Yes.
Have you guys had a bad experience in any of your previous workplaces?
Define
Oh
bad.
yes.
Could be anything. I mean, bad according to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Does
Yeah, you
does a
guys have all.
boss throwing things at you count?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wait, was
yeah,
this
Does
in
a
the
boss
parliament?
firing you and calling you back thrice count?
yeah, yeah, yeah. A
Yeah.
boss
Oh.
calling cops on you because you've quit your job. Yeah, that's also happened to me.
Yeah.
Okay, suddenly my experience doesn't seem so bad now. But yeah, the short answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, guess what?
Hmm.
Have you heard of coding ninjas?
No.
I want to
Okay.
say, yeah.
Well, I don't think they're very famous, or rather, they weren't very famous before today,
Yeah.
but they will be very famous soon because they're on page 10.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, so they're an institute that teaches coding to
Coding.
students,
Hmm.
right? And from what I know, I feel that it's all.
Not ninjas.
Uh, yeah, I think we might not hear about those guys.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
That's a little secretive. Yeah.
I see
So
what you
Okay.
did there, huh?
yeah, exactly. And I also feel it's a bit of an upskilling sort of institute where
Okay.
people who already have some sort of knowledge in that, and then
Right.
they can go and sort of hone their skills
Mm,
further,
mm,
right? So apparently, an overzealous manager
mhm,
decided that because the day's work wasn't done,
mhm,
he got the watchman to lock the gates to the door of coding ninjas
mhm.
so that the people couldn't get out, as in his fellow employees,
Right.
colleagues couldn't get out of the office without his express permission. And someone took a video of the watchman kind of
Locking them
locking
in.
locking them in and asked him his name, asked him who's done this, and put up that video on LinkedIn.
Mm.
And it has kind of attracted the ire of a lot of the netizens in India and well abroad as well.
Hmm.
And it just sort of it's kind of funny because these things you never hear about these things kind of happening, and
Right.
God forbid if something had to go wrong, things would have gone really bad.
And this happened in
Hmm.
Gurgaon, is it?
This happened in Gurgaon,
Yeah.
yeah, friendliest place in India. And
Why? Why?
and yeah, and basically the so since this story breaking and all, of course it got a lot of hate on the
Right.
internet, on Twitter and
Is there
everything.
any information about how many employees we're talking about?
Not really.
Okay.
But see, this was around evening-ish time, and obviously it's not going to be 100% of the employees locked
Right.
in. I'm
Right.
guessing probably like a few, select few, 20,
Got it.
30,
Mm, mm,
possibly.
mm.
And yeah, and since the story is broken out, it's gotten a lot of hate on Twitter and everything. And since then, they have put out a statement. The CEOs also put out a statement. I'm gonna read Coding Ninja statement first.
Okay.
So they've said that over the last 7 years, we've built this company with love and a deep passion to solve India's skill gap.
Hmm.
They want to clarify that the incident occurred was a regrettable action by an employee. It was immediately rectified within minutes, and the employee acknowledged his mistake and apologized for the inconvenience caused. Right.
Hmm.
So the founders have also expressed their regret, and I believe one of the founders has put out a statement saying that this has we don't expect this to ever happen, and it wasn't something that we would ever condone or whatever, right?
Right.
So and I mean, again, not really doing a lot of world of good for any ed tech sort of fellow ed tech enthusiasts over here. We Meghnad, you and I mean, I'm sure you also know about all the ed tech sort of shenanigans that have been happening over the last few. So
Oh yes.
yeah, so like, why is it always ed tech? Is what I don't understand. Like, why is this happening in these ed tech situations? Um, I will come to Byju's and White Hat Junior in a,
Right.
in a bit, but
Sure.
like, just want to take. Like, what do you guys think about this?
I was
And
going to come to White Hat Junior and Byju's actually.
Yeah, yeah.
So from my whatever I know is that the edtech sector took like they suddenly their graph rose during the pandemic because everything
Yeah.
was shut. People were
Yeah.
stuck at home. They wanted to study from home, and then the first sort of wake up call or whatever you want to call it for me was like, oh my god, these people are so big. Was when I think was it Byju's who got Lionel Messi
Hmm.
to
After Tendulkar.
but Tendulkar. Okay, at least he's an Indian athlete or whatever.
Shah Rukh Khan, boss.
Yeah, Shah Rukh
Yeah,
Khan,
yeah.
Lionel Messi, all these. So those campaigns were running alongside reports that they are laying off people left, right, and center.
the only
So
comparable thing I can think of was Rajnikanta getting Pierce Brosnan. like
Yeah.
the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
that was after Pierce Brosnan like was done with his Bond thing. I was like, "Arey, look, so they're getting Lionel Messi while he's still active."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, please enlighten me with what
So,
is wrong with.
like one thing that I have to say here is that when we were growing up, obviously this was the tuition crowd, right? Which is the
Correct,
coaching
exactly.
classes, centers, whatever.
हाँ.
Now they're called EdTech. नाम चेंज हो गया है बेसिकली धंधे वही है राइट like
Yeah.
if you remember our coaching classes back in the glory days were terrible places
Correct.
like
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
across the board I have
Yeah,
not
yeah,
seen a
yeah.
single coaching class which is great right it's like run by these people who are somehow I don't know um, jallads I guess who
That's the correct word. Yes.
Shit, I
guess,
can't name
yeah,
drop my coaching class after this now.
like it's a business right so basically these are people who take advantage of a shitty education system that we have
Correct.
Yeah.
हमारे स्कूल में अच्छे से पढ़ाते नहीं है तो फिर हाँ of course coaching classes घुसा दो and now these edtech people have taken ये the reason why they grew during the pandemic was because again schools में कुछ चल नहीं रहा था but obviously kids were panicking so then coaching classes आ गए बीच में and they're like वो online पढ़ाते हैं there are many stories as I'm sure Karan will also talk about one being the white hat junior scandal that happened which is there were many recordings of how their teachers were treating the students and how they were screaming at them and just being vile human beings in general. Then there was another about who like how salesmen were recruiting the students in and how they were essentially scamming them and emotionally manipulating them by saying that oh क्या 8 साल के बच्ची को तुम अपना कोडिंग सिखा दो तो वो बिल गेट्स बन जाएंगे टाइप्स
Are we talking about Beju's or White Hat Junior?
White Hat.
White Hat Junior was the one.
but that Venn diagram is one circle for
I
both
think
of these.
was it White Hat Junior a part of Beju's only?
So Beju's has acquired White Hat Junior.
Yeah.
And White Hat Junior also had that famous Wolf Gupta student. If you
also yes, Wolf Gupta.
Yes, the famous Wolf Gupta that
please tell. Yeah, please tell. Fun story.
So White Hat Junior at their I want to say zenith, right, of popularity had come up with this marketing campaign. And whoever this advertising agency guy probably patted himself on the back like 20 times to come up with the name Wolf Gupta, who apparently learned coding from White Hat Junior and went on to get a job at Google. Some 8-figure salary. Isn't 8-figure a lot? Yeah, 8-figure salary. Yeah. Sorry guys. and and is basically doing very well. And then if you know there was quite a few like posts and everything by a certain Pradeep Punia who was basically this lone crusader against White Hat Junior saying that guys this is clearly not true that I don't think there is Wolf Gupta that thing and there was a full like defamation of a 20 crore defamation suit that White Hat Junior put on Pradeep Punia which poor guy had to fight tooth and nail at the courts. Finally the court sided with Pradeep and they had to take back their advertising and all of that. Oh, sorry, my mistake. First, ASCII came down on White Hat Junior, Advertising Standards Council of India. They came down on this thing, they are on White Hat Junior, to which they took back the advertising of Wolf Gupta. To which Pradeep Punia tweeted, "Hey, White Hat Junior killed Wolf Gupta," and then the defamation case happened. Okay. So you can't say we've killed people, right? Yeah, that's where they draw the line. And so after a lot of like sort of court kacheri bullshit and all of that, so finally the court started Pradeep Punia, they had to withdraw their defamation case and all of that. I don't know what's going on.
So I've spoken to Pradeep a bunch of time. I was doing a story on this whole thing.
Oh,
I've
okay.
had many conversations with him. Finally, it went nowhere because मेरी भी फट गई थी कि बॉस ये मुझे थोड़ी defamation case चाहिए था because I already was dealing
Yeah.
with one defamation case.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
was like, एक और do I really need to? But finally, like the court ruled in his favor, and we did some stories later also. But
Yeah.
he was the one who did all these things, by the way. Like he called the salesman of Byju's and White Hat Junior, and like he was trying to rope them into like recruiting him or his daughter
Yeah.
as a student, and then he basically made like a whole thing about the tactics that they use. He got the script from somewhere and he put it
Yeah.
out, and
Yeah.
he
Yeah. Yeah.
basically went on a rampage after that, like
He got
against.
connected. He got connected with a lot of sales guys who actually like proffered information to him, by
Right.
themselves, saying that, yeah, since you're fighting the good
Mm.
fight, take this info from us, so it'll help you only.
Right.
Obviously,
Mm.
they can't do much. And also, to preface all of this, Whitehead Junior wasn't even a great sort of institute.
Right.
Like, for what all their tall claims about supposedly helping kids to be able to program the Hubble telescope and all of the, so yeah, trust me, their marketing materials are amazing, right? What it turns out that they were only kind of copy pasting code from somewhere else and putting it here.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you know how coding works, technically these things do tend to happen in terms of coding. Like, people do tend to like copy code, but that's only for like, so for example, getting a structure in place and then sort of building upon it, right? Just to give a small example. So that was what exactly was happening over here, is that they're just copy pasting the code exactly as it is and then saying, "Ha, ye le mera app." You know what I mean? Apparently some teachers didn't even have a coding background, but supposedly they are just like,
Teaching.
they're just teaching because they were trained to do a specific function of whatever they're doing.
They were
Uh,
coded
yeah,
by
yeah, yeah.
White Junior. Yeah.
Oh yes, of course. Apparently, there was a video that Pradeep had posted where a student asked the teacher, "What is cloud storage?" So the teacher is saying data when stored in atmospheric clouds. Yeah.
Yeah.
A better answer would have been if you burn a hard disk, okay, then the solid state becomes gaseous state. so, so yeah,
Amazing.
all of this sort of, just, I mean, yeah, so that's edtech for you. None of these guys
But
are doing any
तुम
favors.
लोग ये कोडिंग निंजास के बारे में स्टोरी था, and ये हम शिट करने
I'm
पहुंच
just
गए यहाँ
saying.
पे
So
इन
I
लोगों
mean,
को.
yeah,
Bring it back to Code Ninja. So this person who locked the employees in, is he still employed with
the watchman logged the employees.
The watchman locked,
Ha,
but then he
on-
must have been told by
Yeah, of
someone,
course he
right?
did.
Yeah.
On some guy called Avinash. Okay, he says in the video.
Okay.
Okay. There is no news whether this said Avinash has been fired or not.
Okay.
He has definitely proffered an apology,
Hmm.
which of course fixes everything, right? Anyway, I mean, long story short, I don't think this incident must have lasted very long. I think about 10-15 minutes is what people are saying. For 10-15 minutes, these guys were locked inside. If you have to extrapolate that to real
You
world,
use that to rant about edtech in general. In your
yes, I want to bring,
Wow,
I want to
okay.
tell people this is not exactly a rosy sort of a, what do you say, like a sector, to be in. Anyway, so they say it was 10-15 minutes. We can safely assume must have been about half an hour to 1 hour that this entire incident sort of took place.
Oh my god, the
And-
trauma.
Oh yeah, exactly. And Twitter is of course like going off the hook when it comes to this. Like people are constantly talking about, oh, what about there should be kidnapping and illegal detention cases that should go up. That should be filed against the company. What if there was a fire that took place? You guys are about to lose a lot of US clients.
The fun thing is, I read one theory. I was like, I didn't know the details of what you just said, but I also saw
Yeah.
like some stuff on Twitter, and
Yeah.
someone said that there is like a coaching class war going on, a edtech war going on, where they were like, oh, पता है ये
Oh.
coding ninjas वालों का जो incident हुआ ना, उसको they are like some rival edtech companies trying to put like an army there to essentially shit on coding ninjas and then like destroy them because of this. I'm like, yeah, this is fun, because again it reminded me of coaching classes days, right? Which is,
Yeah.
there was this there used to be this institute called Time, remember, like management classes, something.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and there was a Chate coaching class, right?
Of
So
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Legend.
I remember in Nagpur they had a literal war. Like literally potte bheje the hockey sticks se, right? You know, like, I was like, same thing, just online. I don't know.
Yeah.
So what I
Fun
remember,
times.
the big scandal when I was growing up was so Chate, whoever used to top the board exam, right? Regardless of, so if they were not Chate coaching classes
Yeah.
student, Chate used to approach their parents and be
Huh,
like,
le
हम तुमको
paisa.
पैसा देंगे,
Yeah,
हम
Paisa
photo
do.
लगाएंगे कि
yeah,
this
Yeah.
person studied at Chate coaching
yeah.
classes.
Yeah.
So I remember that was a big this
Yeah.
thing. But
And
I'll,
there
I'll
was a funny incident that happened in Nagpur. So what Chate used to do this, then other coaching classes started to do this.
yeah,
So
yeah,
then the same face used to be in all coaching
yeah.
classes. So it's like parents must be like, हाँ यहाँ भी गया था, वहाँ भी गया था, वहाँ भी गया था, क्या बोल रहे हैं, क्या जा रहे
Yeah.
हैं? It's like-
Shruti used to distribute her time between
Uh,
Chate and Mahesh
Yeah.
Agarwal.
Guys, these are the precursor to influencers. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
so you have to give credit to these pioneers who came before all of these Instagrammers that we have today, right?
Right.
Did
And
you
then
go to a
one coaching class, then one coaching, because there were so many doing it. One coaching
yeah,
class
yeah.
was like वो होता था ना mock exam. Coaching
हाँ.
classes used to do mock exam.
हाँ,
So then
हाँ.
they were like, अच्छा इसने mock exam दिया था हमारा.
हाँ,
So then
हाँ,
again, like,
yeah.
like the,
Yeah, I went to a coaching class called Nayak's Tutorials,
okay.
which is mostly Thana Mulund based, but now they are fucking everywhere.
Hmm.
And I have one funny story from there is that so we were all in one class, right? So there was, I mean, half my class would come from school, would come to
Coaching class.
coaching classes. The other half would go to Mahesh tutorials, right? Nayaks and Mahesh tutorials are basically brothers who had a fight and who kind of now have their own.
Literally brothers?
yeah.
They're actually brothers.
Okay.
They had
What? Okay.
they had some sort of a falling out. So Nayaks used to initially teach at Mahesh.
Oh,
then
okay,
they
got it.
had some sort
As
of a
it
falling
usually
out.
happens.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. So it's Mahesh Nayak
Got it.
and Nayak, whatever.
Right.
So
Right.
and so they have their own like sort of now each
Right,
other's
yeah.
tutorials. Now, what's happened is and this happens in both that I know is that there's a usual classroom with like whatever 40-50 people, and then there is a classroom for the smart kids.
Yeah.
Right. That will be only like
Oh,
some
yes.
20 odd people for the smart kids. Now the thing is, you can pay money and become a smart kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So if I was paying, and now back then my dad was paying almost 20K per sem or whatever,
Okay.
right? For this thing, for the tuitions, which is steep.
This is early 2000s.
Yeah. Now, if you're a smart kid, if you're actually a smart kid, you probably have to pay the same amount, right? But if you're not a smart kid, but you want to pay money to become a smart kid, you have to pay almost 1 lakh.
Wow.
Now, I of course, my memory of this is a little hazy right now, but it's around that much, right?
Did your dad pay for it?
No.
Okay.
No, he knew. So
No, this is very funny because like I remember like one of our coaching classes in Nagpur also had like this system, right? This whole smart kid classroom. So essentially वो क्या करते थे कि non-smart kid classrooms were like 80 log and smart kid classrooms were like 20, 25.
Yeah.
The point is that the teacher is paying more personalized attention to you.
Chate premium.
Yeah.
Chate
Speaking of
premium.
Chate, you guys remember this really old ad
But
that Chate coaching
wait.
classes had?
Let me complete. So someone had told me, so someone had done this, right? Like paid money to get into one of these classes. So they were like trying to explain how they get like personalized, whatever. And then this literal child who was like in 11th standard, I remember, said ki, हाँ और networking भी हो जाता है हमारा. I'm like, what?
In 11th standard.
सब स्कूल के टॉपर जो होते हैं ना वो यहाँ पे ये क्लास में आते हैं और फिर बहुत नेटवर्किंग हो जाता है हमारा. I'm like, बस तू 11वीं में है, मतलब तू 15 साल का बच्चा है. What networking?
Too good. So basically, what I was coming back to is that there was an ad that Chate. I will send a link and hopefully it'll be in the description below. That Chate actually, now the conspiracy theory that I sort of abide by is that Chate went to Leopold's, okay, found two Firangs and told him to say one line. Excuse me, where is Chate? And he's asking everybody.
Oh my God.
He's going to all the Mumbai landmarks and saying, Chate, there's Chate here also. There's Chate there also. And these are like those old Bombay landmarks, right?
Yeah.
So You have to see this video. I will not spoil more, but it is hilarious. It's
Is it
too
an
good.
ad?
It's an ad made by Chate coaching classes.
Oh, that's amazing. That's a
Yes,
great ad.
yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. I'm telling you, these are like he's going to Warden Road, right? Pedder Road, Warden
Soda
Road. Oh,
fountain. Yeah.
Chate is here also. Oh wow, Chate either. Wow, Chate. Why is a Firang talking about Chate
Exactly, I was
coaching
thinking about
classes?
that. Why?
Yeah. So
Anyway, I'll just say this.
Chate.
One last thing is, I used to go to a coaching class jinka tagline tha "We teach success." Okay, some student got so pissed off while leaving on the board. He put an arrow and added the word "hardly." So now it read "We hardly teach success." Anyway, okay, that brings us brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for joining us, Karan. Anything you want to tell people, like social media handles, before we wrap up?
yeah, you could probably find me on Instagram at 22kgp. And yeah, I mean, happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Abbas.
All right, cool. Meghnad, anything you want to plug before we wrap up?
You can follow me on Instagram on Meghnad S, and you can follow me on Twitter on me Meghnad.
Yep,
That's it.
and
That's what
you
I
can
have to
also
plug.
you can also catch Meghnad hosting ELI 10 on this very YouTube channel and podcast feed, which is explained like I'm.
Sorry.
You can also catch
Mm.
Meghnad hosting ELI 10 on this very YouTube channel and podcast feed, which is explained like I'm 10.
There's a
What?
latest episode which I would like to plug.
Yes.
Thank you, Abbas. Which is so we did an episode with a public policy nerd and author Shubhashish.
Mhm.
He did an episode with us on what is government. He
Okay.
wrote a book called Cage Tiger: How Too Much Government is Holding India Back.
Okay.
So he has very nice views about government, which some of them I share with him. So
Okay.
please do watch that episode because we went deep into what the government is supposed to do, like maintaining railway tracks, or
Right.
Oh,
or
Hmm.
ensuring justice for wrestlers, etc.
Hmm. Hmm.
And how they don't do it anyway, and why they
Right.
don't do it.
Hmm.
So and how we can hold them accountable. So please do listen to that episode.
All right, cool. And you can follow me on Twitter at Abbas Momin and Abbas Momin88 on Instagram. That's all from us this week. We will catch you next week with a whole bunch of new topics and a new panelist. Till then, goodbye.
IVM.